I've owned the Snapware glass food storage containers for several years now. In this video, I'm going to share with you 7 things I like about them and 4 things I don't like so much about them. And I'm going to tell you whether I think they're worth the money or not. Hi, I'm Cindy from Smart Family Money. I help you learn how to shop smarter, save money, and save time so that you can get back to changing the world. Shopping for food storage containers can be so frustrating for moms because you spend a bunch of money and then if they end up not working for your family or falling apart right away, it's just so frustrating. Several years ago, I decided to change my family's food storage containers from plastic to glass. I had some health concerns about storing our food in plastic containers, so I just felt like it was time for us to switch to glass. I checked out several different kinds of containers and I ended up settling on the Snapware glass containers. Overall, they've been pretty great for our family, but there have been some pros and cons. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the things I like about them and the things I don't like so much about them. First, let's start with the positives. The first thing is obviously they're not plastic. I like that they're glass. Of course, the lids are plastic, but the plastic lid is generally not touching the food when it's stored in there, so that doesn't concern me too much. I also don't use the plastic lids in the microwave. The second thing is they're very easy to open and close. They have these little flaps on them, and they're really easy to snap open and closed. When I first got them, my kids were pretty young, and they had no trouble opening and closing them. And they had a lot of trouble with things like Rubbermaid and Tupperware in the past. These are much easier. The second thing that I love about them is that they're completely watertight. You can actually put soup in them, flip them upside down, and they're not going to leak. That's really hard to find in food storage containers, and I really appreciate it. The next thing that I like about them is that they're really easy to wash in the dishwasher. The instructions say to put the lids on the top shelf, but I put them on the top and the bottom in the dishwasher and they've been totally fine. Which leads me to my next thing that I like about them. They don't stain. Even if I put them in the dishwasher with things like spaghetti sauce, the lids have come out looking pretty good. This one I was showing you is several years old and even the lid still looks pretty good. It hasn't turned orange over the years. And that brings me to the next point. They've lasted a long time. We've had a bunch of them for quite a few years, and I think we've only had a problem with 1 or 2 of them. They've just lasted, and so many times before, our food storage containers have fallen apart really quickly. The last thing I love about the Snapware glass storage containers is probably the most important. They're just useful. They're made in sizes that just work. I really love the round storage containers for storing things like cut veggies because it encourages my whole family to eat more veggies. And I love the big rectangle one because I can put a portioned meal of leftovers for my husband to take to work. There's just all kinds of really useful sizes in there. So now let's take a look at some of the negatives of the Snapware glass food storage containers. The first one is, since they are glass, they can chip. But I will tell you, we've had them for years with 2 rambunctious kids in the house, and we haven't really had many problems. I think we have had 1 or 2 chip over the years, but if it's a minor chip, it can be sanded down and you can still use them. But overall, they've lasted way longer than I really expected glass containers to last around our house. The next downside is they are pretty heavy. They weigh a lot, so I probably wouldn't put them in something like a kid's lunchbox just because of the weight. In that case, I'd probably use some other material instead. The weight is one of the things that leads to the next negative I have for them, which is storage. When they're stacked up together, they do weigh a lot. So you have to have a really strong shelf to put them on. Another storage consideration is if you have a mix of the round and rectangle containers, they don't stack very well together. Also, you need to think about how you're going to store the lids. Although there are like lid storage devices that you can put in the cupboards, they don't really work with the lids that have the flaps on the side because it's just too awkward to stack them in there. So I've come up with my own solution. I like to use this Sterilite ice cube container because I can just set the lids inside of them, and even though they're awkward shape, it holds them pretty neatly in the cupboard. I can include a link to this down below if you wanted to check this out. The last negative I wanted to share is cost. The glass Snapware containers cost about 2 to 3 times the price of similar plastic ones, so they definitely are more expensive than other options. But for me, because they last so long and I'm avoiding the plastic that I'd rather not use for food storage, it is worth the price. But that's up to you to decide whether it makes sense for you or not. If you want to check out the Snapware glass storage containers, I'm going to include some links below that you can see. And if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.